This is a weekly thing I do, 10 Topics Live with Joey G. It's always so much fun to do this. I've done a bunch of these before, and now this week the topic is positivity. So the way it works is I just ramble for a bit, and then I end up answering questions that you may have. Hit me up on Twitter or on Instagram at Joe_Gatto. Yeah, I hear a lot about how do I end up staying positive. I'm a positive person and whatnot, and I just want to talk to you about it. It's funny because I've had a couple rough days. These past couple days have been a little rough. So I am talking about positivity when I'm not in the most positive place right now, so it should be interesting. But hopefully through this talk, I will be able to share some of the tricks that I've learned to be positive as well. So the first thing I could think about is when people talk to me about positivity is my positivity is not a blind positivity. You're allowed to feel negative or feel bad about something and just try to look for the positive in a situation. Those aren't mutually exclusive. You can't always just be like, all right, well, you got to stay positive. You don't have to stay positive. For me, that's not necessarily the way to go. The way to go is look at the situation, assess it, allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. Because I think at the end, that's just going to come back to bite you. You know, case in point is, my father passed away when I was young, right? Everybody knows that by now. If you're on here, you probably know that. My father passed away. I had just turned 19. I was basically 18 years old. And when he passed away, I was not positive about it, but I found positivity in the situation. It brought me and my siblings closer, brought me and my mom closer. I remembered everything about him, and I used that stuff to mold me into the man I am today. So I think there's positivity in the situation. So to blindly just stay positive doesn't work. You have to allow yourself to feel and feel bad. You have to feel bad when you mess up. You have to realize that you messed up with something and not tried your hardest or let somebody down, and let that and the emotions that come from that mold you so you're better next time. And that in itself invokes positivity, right? Because that's going to make you a better person, and that's the positive part of that. That's going to make you be able to handle that situation again in the future when you come across that, when you have to make a hard decision. So blind positivity is bullshit. And if everybody tells you different, I'm sorry. It's not always just stay positive, be positive. Like, of course, try to have a positive outlook and mindset, but you need to take into account the things that suck. The way positivity works for me is it's the little things build up, right? It's little pieces of positivity. It's not the one big overall thing that wipes everything out. There's nothing that's going to wipe out if you lost a loved one, or if you lost your job and you're broke, or you're evicted, or any of those things that could have happened because of this year. The thing that could change it for you is to take these little pieces of positivity and replace, to start building in where all the negative stuff happened. You just start filling those holes with these little pieces of positivity. It might take a longer time for you to do that, but the next thing you know, you filled up that hole, and maybe there's something happening in your life that you haven't even realized. Also, a big thing about positivity is laughter. Comedy has been a huge thing for me, and also for the gift I like to try to give the world. I think that is a huge part of being able to stay positive, is to be able to laugh in the face of anything, which, as you know, I'm not really afraid to try to laugh at any misfortune that's thrown my way. So that's a little bit about my stance on positivity. So let's get into the questions. My Twitter and Instagram is at Joe_Gatto. Please feel free to follow me there. At KerXO on Twitter says, how do you use positivity in your parenting? Oh, that's a good question. I try to make sure that even when something that my kids consider bad happening, losing a game we're playing, anything that could get construed as bad or misfortune to them, I try to find the positivity and explain it to them about why it is that way. Try to get down to why they feel bad. I won't let Milana's pretty sensitive, which is adorable too, but she gets a little bit emotional. So I never really just let her recluse without explaining about what's going on. I'll give her a moment and I'll ask her what she's feeling and talk to her about that and try to talk through that. And I think helping her handle that stuff will help with positivity. I also try to make everything fun as much as I can. Eating everything from eating vegetables to doing their work for school, or chore-y stuff like the bedtime routine, bath time, stuff like that. I think all that stuff, I try to stay positive there. The big thing now is that they're fighting a lot. So my toy, your toy, they're locked in the house and under the same roof. They're kind of sick of each other. They're around each other so much. I think that's it's an interesting dynamic coming along. They're starting to tattletale a little bit. So those are the next phases for me to figure out, I think. But that's a good question. I think positivity also breeds positivity. I try to stay as positive as I can, allow yourself to feel, but in the back of your mind, try to think about how you could, the bright side, as much as you can. At Josh Botto on Twitter asks, how has using positivity, gratitude, and empathy benefited you and the people around you? Oh, that's great. Thank you. I think gratitude, positivity, empathy, all that stuff, I've been able to meet so many people through just dialing into that stuff. So like the Hero Roundtable, my work with the Pop Culture Hero Coalition, and all the anti-bullying talks I do. I've got to meet some great, wonderful people everywhere from San Diego Comic-Cons. I met some of my favorite people there. Shout out to all of you that I've met, that I know and love. Through those things, those are some of my favorite things. Also, just people that I get to talk to after shows, live shows. It's always just so rewarding, and it pays dividends on itself. It's fuel for the tank. Like when I see what the impact is, it's like, oh, I got to keep that impact going. So I think that's been a way it's benefited me personally. The people around me, I think I try to raise people's awareness to kindness as best as I can. So you see me on Twitter sometimes if somebody says something I don't feel is kind, I like to try to just teach a lesson about it, because I feel like people can't be as big a dicks as they are online. I think it's impossible. I get surprised sometimes, but I think just sometimes people get reminded that there's a human on the other side of that, and more times than not, I feel like it's done some good. And it's also not just to teach that one person, a little bit about kindness and humanity. It's also to teach everybody, the whole audience that's looking at it. So I think that's definitely benefited people a little bit too. Good questions, guys. Thanks. At Annabelle4241 on Twitter asks, have you ever dealt with depression? How can I keep a positive mindset? I'm not a super depression-prone person. I've dealt with it with other people, and with people that are close to me, and have had to help people with that, or experience, not even help them, experience it through them. So I think that's part of it. But for me, I'm not really a depressing person. Things have happened in my life that have made me truly sad. So I think that part of it I could tune into, but I wouldn't call myself somebody who has depression, and I really do feel for people that have that. I think the positive mindset part of the depression is, like I said, tune into what's making you depressed and try to really allow yourself to feel that, because I think a lot of negativity comes from the part of feeling bad for what you're feeling. Does that make any sense? It's like if you feel like you're like, oh, I just can't shake this feeling about why I'm so sad, and really dig in and try to figure it out. And sometimes it's just one of those days where you're gonna be sad. You're gonna be sad that day. You gotta give yourself that. I had that not too long ago. Like today's just a sad day. So I think that's part of it too. I hope that helps a little bit. And then also always talk to somebody, either on a friend level or professional level, if you need that much help. Like always talking to people. I always feel like communication always opens up stuff. Even while I'm speaking here talking, I started this 10 topics with Joey G. Not in the greatest mindset, but just talking here and being with you guys has definitely helped me. At Amber Carlins on Twitter asks, when you have a negative thought, what's something positive you think of? Well, that's funny. Biscotti, for sure. My dog. She's always so happy to see me. I think mostly, honestly, I think of my mother and father. I feel my mother was probably one of the most positive people in the world, and I think she exuded that positivity, and I think that light shone on other people and brought them up as well. So I probably think of my mom the most when I would say that. I would probably say my mother. My father was also positive too, but I didn't know him like that. Like I didn't feel like, that's not the word I would use to describe him. There's other words that I would use to describe him. But my mother definitely was positivity embodied in a Sicilian Spitfire of a woman. At Calm Melly on Twitter asks, I overthink and worry. How do I keep a positive mindset like you through it all? Well, at least you're self-aware, Melly. I love that your name is at Calm Melly and you say you overthink and worry. So you like irony, so that's pretty fun. Keeping a positive mindset. Also, it's a practiced muscle, guys. It doesn't happen overnight. Like, you remember, I'm 44 years old. I've been, through a lot and life experience and stuff. And I think a lot of it comes with, repetitive way that you handle a situation or the outcome of something, because you could find similarities in a lot of sucky things that have happened to you. So I think that's part of it. I think keeping a positive mindset comes from, you overthink and worry, right? You said it right away. That's the first part of it. So when you're overthinking and worrying, realize that. Be like, okay, now let me dial it back and try to think why I'm overthinking, why I'm worrying. And really just dive in and break down what you're really feeling. Don't let overthink and worry, because even in this tweet, it's like, it's your blanket, right? You're just like, I overthink and worry. That's the way you are. Okay, let's get down into it and figure out what makes you overthink and worry. And then hopefully once you figure that out, you can start piecing the puzzle together. And I wish you the best. Calm Melly. At Craig K7 on Instagram. What do you do when you're having a bad day? I allow myself to have a bad day. And then when I realize it's been a bad day, I'll try to turn it around most of the time by finding a reason to laugh, talking to somebody that makes me laugh, or laughing about that it's just a sucky day, like laughing at all the bad things that have happened about it. Laughter for me is my medicine. I think it's important to try to find a reason to laugh even in the worst situations. That's just my thing. Maybe it's a defense mechanism or whatever it is, but I think that's a big part of it. I also like I'll throw on, I'll jump on like YouTube and I'll Google some stuff that I know is going to make me laugh and smile, or tune into good memories. At Hullengaluzzo on Instagram asks, who has impacted you to stay positive and help you through a tough time? My parents, hands down. I award my parents with that. I think also my sister Carla she's been dealt a couple of shitty hands and have come out on top a lot. So she's definitely helped me with that. And then also knowing that I have my wife to lean on is important too. So I think also the people around me that help me lean on, that I can lean on people around me is good. I would definitely say the boys, Sal Kumar. They're definitely another source. DJ Justin Durace, a good friend of mine that you guys may know from the Impractical Jokers Cruise. Shout out. He's a good friend of mine and somebody I could lean on. We lived together in Los Angeles when my life wasn't great. So he has a special place in my heart for that kind of stuff. So those are some people. At jetter.purple on Instagram says, what are some of your best positivity quotes that you can give? I think, there's one big thing is, for me, is perspective a lot. So I think that just also comes through marriage and relationships and whatnot, and taking other people's feelings into account. But perspective is big for me, especially when it comes to positivity. I think that I don't necessarily have a quote that I would say is one of mine. I'm trying to think back to my trying to think back to my posters from dinner party. I just think, if you can be anything, be positive is one that sticks with me. Be the reason why people smile, I like a lot. I think that was Albert Einstein that said that. I don't know who said that, but be the reason why people smile is a big one for me that I always think of. And I live to make other people laugh. That's something I've said for a long time, and that's a quote that I've said and has filtered into my love of you guys. I live to make people laugh. So I think that's some of my best ones. I don't know, but you could Google good positivity quotes, and I'm sure you can find some better ones than that. At Alex Bupp, B-U-P-P on Instagram says, how do you stay positive with the death of your parents? My dad passed a year ago, and it feels like yesterday. Yeah, I get you, buddy. My dad passed away 25 years ago, and it feels like yesterday. I stay positive with the death of my parents or the loss of any loved one, I think is to celebrate their memory and allow that hurt to be something that spawns you into wanting to keep them around, and never forget what you learned from them and the moments you shared. So I still hear and talk to my father and mother all the time. You know, when something happens, I'll always be like, thanks, Dad. Like when somebody's looking out for me or something happens, I honestly feel like that just little affirmation and remembering that they have played a big part in who I am today. I think that's a big part of it. The hard truth is that parents die, right? You never know when. If you're lucky, you know, if the world is good to the people in that situation, they'll die before you, right? Because the loss of a child is something that's probably, I can't even imagine what the hell that would feel like, because that's the way it's supposed to go, right? So to start from a place of, it sucks when your parents die, yes, but you know your parents are going to die. So what you need to do is make the most out of every moment you have with them. I say all the time, you know, hug your mother as much as you can, call your mom, all that stuff, because you never know when they're going to be able to pick up again. So I think it's very important to remember that. Parents die. And if you're fortunate enough that yours are alive, remember that they won't be one day. And that's how you get through it. If you're the one that, then you'll build, and if you come from that place like I did, you'll build relationship and memories that when they are gone, you're living off that stuff and you're keeping them alive in your memory. So that's the way to stay positive about that, I think, is to keep a positive relationship with them. And I guess that makes sense to me. I hope it makes sense to you guys. Good question, Alex Bub. Thanks. At Bean Sheen says, what's your daily mantra? Every morning I wake up and I do some yoga. And while I'm yogaing, I know you guys thinking like, wow, how's he do yogas? I yogas so hard, guys. So I'll do upward dog, you know, get the palms of the feet, get the feet flat, palms it up. And my mantra doesn't, you know, I try to start the day as positive as I can. My mantra comes more in when something happens that would change because like I said, I'm a pretty positive person, so my day's going to start off in a positive outlook. But I think I would take a moment when I was like, something's going wrong here, or, oh, this sucks kind of deal. And I would check in and feel that, and I'd be like, all right. And then I'd be like, okay, how do we turn this thing around? Like, that's always what I say. I think my mantra is, how do we turn this thing around? So I would say that's my mantra. That's all the time I have. Guys, much love to you guys. Thank you so much for spending time with me on 10 Topics with Joey G. We're talking about positivity. It was great. Thank you so much, guys. The most important thing to know is that you're important, you're loved, you will be missed if you're gone. I always say there's never been a funeral with no one where no one has shown up. So all you need to do is find those people and make them the most important people in your life, because those are the ones that care about you.